Let's face it, we're all guilty of it. Not knowing the answer to something, just pulling out your phone and Googling it. While this might seem like a helpful tool, and it is, some people may be becoming too dependent on this technology we've become so accustomed to. When was the last time you wanted to talk to someone, so you got in your car and you drove to their house to see them? The answer is you probably can't remember, because even when we do go to visit people, we always call or text first. How can technology possibly be a bad thing when it helps us so much in our day-to-day lives? But society as a whole is becoming way too reliant on this technology. Social media has become such a big part of our everyday lives. Picture this. When was the last time you walked into a room and saw two people sitting next to each other on their phones, not even talking to one another? The most popular social media app, Facebook, has 1,871 million users as of January 2017. However, the term social media is kind of ironic, as it is actually making our generation anything but social. People may talk to someone over text or Snapchat every day, but they don't actually talk in person. A recent study concluded that 28% of people claimed they would perish without the internet. How can something like technology be causing people to feel like they would literally die without access to the internet? Children of this time period are spending more time sitting inside on their phones than playing outside or being social with other people. 45% of children ages 8 to 11 use social media websites. This just shows that kids these days are more focused on technology than being active and playing outside. In fact, 71% of kids ages 8 to 18 have a television in their bedroom. Playing outside on a daily basis has become a rarity among our children today. We have exchanged fresh air and fun for sitting in front of a screen for hours at a time. There was a time when there was no internet, believe it or not. In the 70s, for example, there was no internet, no cell phones, and there were no video games. They had to entertain themselves in other ways, like playing outside, hanging out with their friends, or playing with their toys. There weren't any distractions to take away from each other's company, which means that strong relationships were more easily developed. About 1/3 of American children and teenagers are overweight or obese. It has been estimated that the average child spends 7 hours watching television, browsing the internet, or playing video games every day. This amount of screen time can easily instill unhealthy habits that contribute to being overweight or obese. When the amount of time a child spends in front of the TV increases, the amount of physical activity decreases. Therefore, there is a direct correlation between obesity and the amount of television watched. Between 1988 and 2009, there has been a dramatic rise in obesity in 27 countries, and the United States is one of them. Technology also increases snacking. A study of 1,003 sixth graders' habits showed that kids who spent more time in front of a television screen ate more snacks than those who spent less time in front of the same screen. Technology not only affects our daily lives, but also our sleep habits. I know that most teenagers are guilty of staying up late at night, watching TV, or scrolling through social media posts on their phone before they fall asleep. You start looking at your phone around 9:30 at night, and then all of a sudden it's midnight, and you're like, oh, I need to get to sleep. Looking at something on your phone like this engages your brain. This can trick your mind into thinking that it needs to stay awake, even after you've put your phone down, resulting in a loss of sleep. Not only can technology distract you from sleep, but it can also interfere with the sleep you are getting. The blue light emitted by screens like that of a television restrains the production of melatonin, the hormone that controls your sleep and wake cycle. Having less melatonin makes it harder to fall asleep and to stay asleep at night. Phones also have a bad habit of waking us up at night. Around 72% of children ages 6 to 17 sleep with at least one electronic device in their bedroom. The difference caused by technology can add up to almost an hour per night of sleep loss. One of the major things technology has changed today is communication. Before technology, to contact a friend that lives far away, you would have to write a letter and take it to the post office to have it mailed. Most young people these days don't even go to the post office hardly at all. I I know the first time I had been to the post office in a long time was this year for scholarship applications, and I wasn't exactly sure how the whole process worked. Now people can just send a text to friends that they are trying to contact, and the message will get there within a few seconds. People are so wrapped up in their phones that they're missing what is right there in front of them. Since it's normal to check your phones hundreds, if not thousands of times per day. Yes, it is important to stay connected with those that you don't get to see very often. But you could also be missing out on life happening all around you. Spending time with someone face to face helps lead a stronger and more developed friendship. Texting can never replace the feeling of hanging out with your best friends or spending time with your family. One of the major problems with texting or other forms of communication through technology is not the actual interaction, but the amount of time people are spending alone with their devices. Oftentimes, teens will sit alone for hours just playing on their phone in their room at night. This leaves little time for real relationships to be formed. Even when a group of friends gets together to hang out, sometimes they interact with their phones instead of each other. People can easily make their friends on social media out to be their true friends. But when it comes down to it, it doesn't help that someone liked your photo on Instagram. True friends are the ones there for you, in person, when you need a shoulder to cry on or someone to tell your secrets to. We're replacing friends with screens, and it's not the same. As a teen, I can strongly say that as a society, we are too dependent overall upon technology in our everyday lives. It's gotten to the point where technology is affecting our communication, health, sleep, relationships, and more. Sure, technology does a lot of good, but it's important to know what is too much. Checking your phone hundreds of times per day is too much. If something happened that caused technology to crash worldwide, a lot of people wouldn't be able to survive. We need to limit our use of technology and get back to the way things were before it took over our lives. Next time you pick up your phone, just remember,